Hello, my K through 5th grade peeps. I sure miss you. I almost tried to call a couple of you and see if you could come over, but I know that's a no-no. So I am just going crazy, not having you guys here, not getting to play fun games, not getting to hear what you guys have been doing. But we have to obey the leaders of the land, and that's one of the things they're telling us to do, is that we need to stay away from each other and let this sickness take its course. So I hope you've been washing your hands and covering your cough. And since you're at home all this time, I sure hope you're obeying your parents and your babysitters and your grandparents, because that's what God would want you to do, okay? Because when we obey people, we kind of show them how much we love them when we obey them, all right? But the deal is, last week we talked about God's love being enough. No matter where we are, what we do, where we're going to go, God's love is always there for us. But this week, we're changing topics, and we're going to be talking about loving others. And to me, that's a really important thing. But the cool thing is that people love in different ways. And we're going to talk about that after our Bible story this morning. So we're going to talk about what is your love language. And that means, how do you like people to show love to you? And then how do you like to show love to people? And you're thinking, what? Yeah, it's really true. We all do things differently. And so for some people, it would be really hard to touch people. Like, some people don't like to be hugged. They don't like to be kissed. None of that. So they don't like touch. But other people love it. They love to be hugged and high-fived and fist bumped and kissed. And so everybody's different. So we're going to talk about those differences. And then at the end of our lesson, you guys are going to, there's a page on our Facebook page that we want you to download if you can, but you're going to take a test, a really easy test, not like a school test, and you're going to find out what your love languages are. Now, I took the test ahead of time, and I have my scores I wanted to show you. So this is mine, and basically you're going to circle things about what you would rather have done or do for someone. And so you circle all the letters, and there's A, B, C, D, and E. And when I took mine, I had 5 A's and 7 C's. And so the deal is that the way that I like to show love and get love is through gifts and through time. But you may be totally different, and that's what's good, because everybody's different. So we're going to talk about that at the very end, and you can take a test and see how God has wired you, because everybody's different, and it's okay to not have the same gifts or want to show love to people the same way, because everybody's different. So our story today is about someone we all know from the Old Testament. Her name is Esther. Now, Esther was a Jew, and she was in a land of people who didn't really care for Jews. But we're going to read the story, and you're going to see what she does and how she loves others, even though they don't really love her. So I'm going to hold up the picture, and you're not going to be able to see my face. That's probably a good thing. And then you're going to be able to listen to the story, and we'll talk about it at the end. So here we go with our story about Esther. Esther was a beautiful girl who depended on God to give her the strength and courage she needed to love others, even though it was hard. Esther was raised by her cousin Mordecai in the land of Persia, but her people, the Jews, were treated poorly by the leaders of the land. When the king of Persia, and his name was King Xerxes, began a search for a new queen, he chose Esther, not knowing that she was a Jew. The king did many nice things for Esther. He gave her fancy clothes and pretty jewels, but no one in the palace knew that Esther was a Jew. I wonder what would have happened if they'd known she was a Jew. Maybe she wouldn't have been chosen as the wife. But God has big plans for her. So here's our next picture. The king had a helper in his palace named Haman. Haman did not love God or God's people, the Jews. Haman was really clever and planned to trick the king into making a law that would have all of God's people killed. You would think that Esther could have marched right into the king's room and told on Haman, but she couldn't. No one was allowed to go to the king without an invitation, not even his wife. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? Not even be able to go in and you're the wife of the king? If she did that, she could be put to death if the king was in a really bad mood. So let's see what happens in the rest of our story. Esther's cousin Mordecai reminded her that God could have made her queen for the very purpose of showing God's love to his people and saving their lives. She asked Mordecai and all of God's people to pray that the king would see her. With her heart pounding and her knees shaking, beautiful Esther decided to act on behalf of her people and went to the king's court. Now, it didn't say she asked for permission. She just asked to go see him. So she's risking her life to save the Jewish people. To Esther's surprise, the king was happy to see her, and he invited her in. He said to her, "Tell me what you want, and I will give it to you." Esther invited the king and Haman to a dinner where she exposed Haman's plan to kill her people. The king couldn't believe that Haman would do such a terrible thing, and he had him taken away for good. Esther showed love to God's people by her willingness to risk her life to see the king. That was a great act of service and a great example of love. It was a great example of love because she could have just said, "I'm afraid, I can't do that, they might kill me." But she was so worried about God's people that she was willing to risk her life. So she showed love for others by speaking up for them. So that's the end of our story, and I'll be back with you in just a second. I'm back. So now we're going to move on to the 5 love languages that I want you guys to hear about so that you can decide and take a little test and see what your love languages are. Now, most people have one really strong love language, like mine is gift giving. I love to get things and buy things for people. And then my second gift is time, the gift of time. I like people to spend time with me, but I also like to hang out with people, going out to restaurants and having a Coke, or going shopping, or going to a movie. So that may be how you are too. So look for one big score and then maybe another one that's just a little bit lower than that on the love language test. But right now I'm going to go through the 5 love languages one by one so you can see and start thinking about how God has wired you. Okay, here's the first one. The love language of time. Okay, so think of somebody who really loves you. Okay, think. Okay, now think about something special you've gotten to do with that person. All right? One way some of us feel very loved is when people spend time doing things with us, like playing a game, watching a movie, or going somewhere special together. And think of your parents and how many times they go to your ball games or your concerts or your gymnastics events or your wrestling meets. They are there to support you, and they do that with their time. So think about that one. That's kind of a hard one, but sometimes what people really need is the gift of time. Here's another one. If you love to give high fives or fist bumps, you might have the gift of touch. Some of you might feel really loved when people give you a high five or pat you on the back. Or when you see somebody you love, you might run up to them and give them a big old hug. If so, then touch is one of the ways you receive love and give love to others. But some of you may not like it when other people touch you, and that's okay, because we all receive love and give love in different ways. So think about the fact of maybe, do you have the gift of touch? Here's the third one, service. Think about the chores or responsibilities that you have at home. And I know that there are some of them that you don't enjoy doing. Like, I don't have anybody to do my chores, so I have to take the garbage out on Sunday nights, and I just don't like that. Because I'm usually tired and I don't want to drag it out to the curb, and I haven't gotten the garbage all picked up out of the rooms yet. So I don't enjoy that at all. Man, if somebody came and did my garbage, I would love that. But if somebody was trying to serve you and they did that terrible chore for you that you don't like to do, would you feel loved? Some of us feel really loved when people do things to serve us, and some of us really enjoy doing things for others. If that's you, then one of your love languages is service. Now, this service one is a big one, because think about the church. How would we get anything done at church without our service volunteers? Like, how horrible would it be if you come to the door of the church and nobody's there to greet you? Or when you come to get your name tag, I'm not there, or Miss Julie isn't there. Or when you go to get communion, there's no communion because nobody was there to prepare it. So service is a really big one, and it's really important. As a matter of fact, some of you are learning that by the fact that you're starting to help in the nursery and the preschool rooms, and some of you are in the sound booth. Those are all ways to serve. So is that one of your love languages? Here's number 4. I hope that you're one of those people that likes to tell someone something kind or encouraging that you notice about them. And it can be little like, man, those are way cool shoes. Or, man, way to go getting an A on that test. How'd you do that? Do you think our words have the power to show people love? Absolutely. Do you think our words have the power to tear people down? Yes. And unfortunately, that's how some of us talk. And we shouldn't do that because God has made everybody and everybody's the same. So we all need to do our best to show everyone how important they are with our words. When people say kind, encouraging things to us like, you are so cool, or I am so proud of you, that may make you feel really loved. That's because words are one of the 5 love languages. And here's our last one. Gifts. How many of you love to get gifts? Oh man, I love to get gifts. Even when I was younger, it was even so exciting on Christmas to get out of our beds and run to the tree and all those packages. And it was so exciting to go through and find out which ones were mine. But I love to get gifts, but as I've gotten older, I love to give gifts. I love to see people get excited. I love to see people get something that they hinted to me about, and then I can find that for that and give that to them, okay? Do you get excited when you get a gift? I sure do. Some of us feel really loved when someone surprises us or gives us a gift, while some of us don't like surprises that much, and that's okay. We all feel loved in different ways. All right, so those are the 5 love languages. I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk about the little test you're going to take to find out what your love languages are. Okay, this is kind of like your homework assignment, but it's not hard. You just have to read some questions and choose which one best fits you. Which one do you like the best? So it's called the Love Language Mystery Game. And there are 20 questions, and as you'll notice, you're going to circle one of the 2 things that it says. And you'll notice that there's answers A, B, C, D, or E. So you're going to choose your answers, and then at the bottom, you're going to write in the total number of A's, B's, C's, D's, and E's. And then you're going to see which one has your highest score. And then you're going to find this page on our website, and it says answer key. And so basically, it's going to say, if you have the highest score in these areas, then you have the gift of, and those 5 love languages are listed for you to choose from. All right? Now, what I'd really like is for you to text me or Facebook me and say, Miss Lynn, my love languages are blank and blank. Because it's really interesting to see how everybody's different. Some of you shy kids may have the gift of words, or you may have the gift of time. Where some of you kids who are kind of crazy will maybe be the ones who touch, who like to do high fives and chest bumps. And then hopefully all of you can do the words, because we can say so much with our words, and our words are so powerful. So that's your lesson for this week. But be sure to look on our website for a special, incredible, amazing event that's going to happen on Sunday, April 5th. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a blast. And it's one way that you and your families can get out of your houses on Sunday, April the 5th at 6:30 in the evening. All right? All right, we'll do this again next week, and we'll keep doing it until we can get back together. I love you. I miss you. I'm praying for you like I have been all week. Please pray for everybody to stay safe, that no one else will get sick in our community, and that our medical and healthcare workers will be able to handle everything that comes their way. All right? I'll see you next time. Bye.
It's time for a Bible story. A long time ago, there was a woman named Esther who lived in the land of Persia.
Oh, that's where all those fancy rugs come from, right?
Yeah.
Those are nice. Little pricey, though.
God had an amazing plan for Esther's life. She would be remembered forever as a hero.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Super Esther. What did she do? Save the planet from a meteor?
Nope.
Did she rescue 1,000,000 kittens from a tree?
No.
Did she carry a bomb out of Gotham City on the Batwing so everyone wouldn't blow up, but you're not sure for like 5 minutes if she made it or not?
No, that's Batman. Come on.
Right. Still gets me every time.
Esther did something even more amazing than all of those things, and it sure took a lot of guts to do it.
All right, lay it on me. What's the sitch?
Well, first of all, Esther and her family were Jewish, which was kind of a big deal back then in Persia.
What do you mean?
Well, at the time, the Jewish people weren't really liked by the Persians. In fact, they had to live in exile, and they weren't treated very well at all.
Yikes, that's no good.
Esther was also an orphan, and she lived with her cousin Mordecai, who protected and raised her after her parents died.
Sweet beard, bro.
Then one day, something happened that would change Esther's life big time. The king of Persia wanted to find a new wife, so he put on a huge beauty pageant where the winner would become the queen.
Wait, really? That's a pretty weird way to get hitched. Like, congratulations, you're the new Miss America, and we're married.
Well, as weird as it may sound, that's what the king wanted to do, so that's what happened. Women from all over the kingdom were there, but there was only one that the king favored.
Paula Deen.
What?
Yeah, think about it. He would eat like a king. Well, I mean, I guess he's already a king, but think about how awesome every meal would be. Breakfast, bacon. Lunch, biscuits and gravy. Dinner, butter bacon biscuits with a side of butter.
Come on, Paula Deen wasn't around then. This happened like thousands of years ago. Esther was very beautiful, and God gave her favor in the king's eyes. So just like that, she won the pageant.
Wait, so Esther became the queen of Persia?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool and all, but didn't you say that Esther was Jewish and that, like, the Persians didn't like Jewish people?
That's true, but the king didn't know that Esther was Jewish. She didn't want him to find out because she didn't know what would happen to her. So she kept it a secret and never brought it up.
Okay, so, like, now she's the queen. Crazy. Is that it?
No way. This is where the story really picks up. There's another guy that works for the king named Haman, and he's a pretty bad dude. He hates the Jewish people, so much so that he actually brings an idea to the king that would be terrible: to kill all of the Jewish people.
Whoa, that's really rough. Like, surely the king doesn't go through with it, right?
Actually, Haman gets the king to agree and sets the plan in motion.
Wait, but if all the Jewish people are killed, that would be horrible. They're like God's chosen people, aren't they? And that's where Jesus would eventually come from. This can't happen. Somebody's got to do something.
And that's where Esther comes in. She can't stand the thought of seeing her people get wiped out by Haman's awful plan, but she doesn't know what to do.
I know what she should do. Time to lay down the law and tell the king not to do it. She probably kicked into mama bear mode and was all like, "Listen here, buddy."
Let me stop you right there. Keep in mind that this is like ancient Persia. You couldn't just approach the king whenever you wanted to, even if you had a reason. Anytime someone would just pop off to the king, they'd usually get a pop off themselves.
Ah, gotcha. So I guess she's in a pretty tough spot, huh?
Totally. On one hand, she didn't want to see her people destroyed, but on the other hand, she can't just walk up to the king and tell him what to do.
Even the queen?
Nope, nobody could just walk up and talk to the king, period.
Man, this is tough stuff. So what'd she do?
Even though her mind was filled with doubt and worry about what would happen to her, she had to do something. Esther knew that no matter what her feelings were telling her, she was a child of God. She knew that God loved her and that he had blessed her life, and that if she stood up for God's people, that God would back her up.
Yeah, that's right. You go, Esther.
Esther trusted God and boldly went before the king. The nobles and the guards that surrounded him couldn't believe what they were seeing. Who did this woman think she was, that she could just walk up to the king on her own?
Oh man, I bet her feelings were totally freaking out.
I'm sure she was feeling a lot of things. She asked the king if she could make a request, and to everyone's surprise, the king wasn't upset. He didn't call for her to be taken away by the guards or thrown in jail, but instead, he listened.
Phew, that was intense. Okay, he's listening. Time to land the plane.
But she couldn't do it.
What? She chickened out? Bummer.
No, not exactly. She didn't want to come right out and tell the king everything, so she asked to have a banquet and planned to tell him there.
Okay, so there's still a chance to save her people. Come on, Esther, you can do it.
Later at the banquet, she went before the king with another request.
All right, here we go. Showtime.
But she was still too nervous.
Goodness gracious, you weren't kidding when you said her feelings were freaking out.
Totally. She was feeling all kinds of things, even questioning if the whole thing was a mistake. But her cousin Mordecai encouraged her and reminded her that what God says is more important than her fears and doubts, and he told her something that she would never forget. Esther, you were put here for such a time as this.
Yeah, come on, Esther, you got this.
Esther had dinner with the king again, and the moment came for her to ask her question. She took a deep breath, and she went for it. She pleaded with him not to go through with Haman's plan to kill the Jews. She finally told him that she was Jewish herself, and if Haman's plan goes through, that she would have to die too.
Man, Esther is one tough cookie. What happened next?
The king was moved by Esther's request and agreed to what she asked. He immediately got rid of Haman and canceled the plan to wipe out the Jewish people.
Yeah, you did it, Esther.
The king also gave all of Haman's wealth and property to Esther and Mordecai. Not only that, but the king signed a new decree to protect the Jewish people and keep them safe. The people of Israel were saved.
Man, Esther is like a real-life superhero. Move over, Wonder Woman. Esther can take you any day.
Esther decided to put her trust in who God said she was more than what she felt. And because of that, her entire country was saved. The end.